This is a 1960s Roberts R404 radio, and this is my Roberts R404 radio. As you can see, it's in terrible condition, and I'm going to do something with it, hopefully. So I've stripped it down to the bare wood, and I'm toying with a few ideas. The first thing I'm thinking about doing is perhaps putting in a few speakers. The original speaker is beat, and it's a difficult size to replace. I even question whether 25 ohms for a speaker is efficient. A new speaker or two would make a big difference with this, but the thing is, this is old, really obsolete. There's hardly anything broadcasting on medium wave or long wave anymore, but I wish Atlantic 252 was still going. I'm going to upgrade this thing with two speakers probably, with both 4 ohms. The different sizes should give me a wider frequency response. I'm going to recover this with new fake leather. This stuff I already tried was soft. It was too soft. It easily became damaged when rubbed or scuffed. So I'm going to use a better, harder wearing leather. It's fairly easy to recover. All you need is contact adhesive. It's basically rubber glue. And the way it works is you basically apply it to both surfaces of the things you want to stick and then wait for those things to dry. Once they're dry, just stick them together. Weird, huh? It's not intuitive and it's not very forgiving. You can't slide things into place like ordinary glue. You stick it and it's stuck, and it's really stuck strong. It's often used to fix shoes. I've heard that people who restore old radios use a mixture of this glue with PVA, but that didn't work for me. The big question here is, do I go nuts on this thing or just restore it to its original condition? It could be nice to keep it original, but it's not so useful because it's an ornament. It becomes an ornament then. I can't actually use it for anything. I want a radio though that's functional and has the 60s style to it, but will play MP3s, FM radio and Bluetooth. One thing I hate about radios is how they always need replacement batteries. Why can't they be solar powered or self-charging in some way? I will think more about these ideas as I'm recovering the leather and decide when it's done. While I've been recovering the leather, I've had to remove the beading from the sides. They fit into the little gaps, the gaps that I'm pushing this leather into. The trouble is, I'm not going to be able to replace this. I'm not going to be able to put this beading back in because it came out in such a bad way. So I have to replace it somehow. I've had a look on the internet for different plastic tubing, because that's essentially what this is. And the best thing that I've found, the most interesting thing, is EL wire. Electroluminescent wire, which is basically a kind of wire that glows like an LED. How cool is that? So I'm going to place that into this in a minute. I'm going to see what happens when I turn it on. It looks very similar when it's off to the original. It's a kind of grey colour. The hardest part, though, is redesigning this back panel. As you can see in the corner there, you can actually see the EL wire. I have actually put it in now. But this back panel is going to be really tricky because I need to put some solar panels in there. Luckily, I've already done that too. Here it is. Here's the prototype at least. So I'm going to cover it with leather, and the solar panels slide in and out. It even has an aerial. And I'm going to pause this for a moment while I finish this off, because this is the only part we need to do now. And I'm going to cut straight to the finished part so you can see the EL wire and how it looks. Ah, never mind. Anyway, that was a bit dark, wasn't it, that presentation? But it was ideal for showing you the blue stripes, the blue beading, glowing nicely. So, it's been 2 months, and I've had time to really try this out. I've had time every day to test this thing. I've used it, perhaps not every single day, but I've used it at least a few days here and there a week. Almost every day. But the point is, I haven't charged it once. I haven't charged it at all. It's been in the window, and I've used it as normal. Actually, we've all used it in the house, and it's great. I can't fault it. Works fine, which is fantastic. On a Saturday morning, listening to a podcast or YouTube, broadcasting it to the radio, rather than have to struggle with a tinny little sort of noise off the speaker while I'm doing the kids' dinners, and it's great. It's been really okay. So there's been a few issues really, like I think I could have done the fascia a little bit differently. So it's just an aesthetic issue really. And although it looks okay and it works fine, I think I'm not really 100%. I'm not sure about it. I'm just not sure about it. I think I could have done it differently, and I think I could have made it look nicer. But that is such a minor thing. These two solar panels, they're great. I mean, they do everything that I'd expect. But if there was a time when I had to go into a coal mine and stay there for a week, I also have the ability to charge it via USB up here. It also has the ability to output energy through a USB, so I could charge my phone using this, which is handy. The best thing about it though is this little charge module. It's not a charge module actually. It's a meter for monitoring the battery, and it shows me the amps that the radio is using, so I can see when I'm cranking the volume up, I can see it's drawing more out of the battery, and I can see how much power the battery has got. So in volts, I can measure the volts. It's good because I can gauge how much I've used and how much it charged up. So from one day to the next, I can see that it charges up probably a few volts, 3 or 4 volts on a dull day, which is really good. The solar panels though, they go directly into a TP4056 module, and there's no regulator or anything. It's all done by this one module, and it's okay because these panels, their maximum voltage is 6 volts, and I think the maximum that we could probably see on a hot day, a really nice day, is maybe peaking at about 7, and that's fine because the actual TP4056, that module has a chip on it that's rated to about 8 volts, I think, at the max. So it will never get to that level, and it's completely safe. It's got a protection circuit, so the batteries are well looked after, and that's one of the most important things really when you're using lithium-ion batteries. It's a nice little set, and it's quite loud. The interesting thing about this though is that it's easy enough for anyone to do. It's not a circuit board inside this. It's a collection of modules which you can buy as independent units from places like eBay and AliExpress and all other kinds of electronic retailers, I suppose. And they're very cheap and readily available. So I'll just show you now what's inside this. So come over here for a minute. So, it doesn't look so great in here, does it? It's not as nice as you'd think. It's very rough, but that's not important anyway. Anyway, this is the EL wire to show you how that works. It's a bit of a pain to use, to be honest, so I might actually drill a hole in this and stick a proper switch in there, but thing is, it's not like I'm going to use that very often. Not all the time, really. This is the MP3 board. This is the thing that plays the music, really. Probably the most important thing. They're modules that you can buy on eBay or AliExpress or anywhere, really. There's plenty of them, and there seems to be an abundance of different styles and appearances. They all have a little bit of a tacky feel to, and there's not a hell of a lot of choice over what they look like, but they really do the job. This is the TP4056, and as you can see there, it's inside a 3D printed sleeve, and that is held in place so that we can charge USB if we ever need to recharge this thing using USB. This is the PAM 30 something module. I can't remember the exact name, but it's basically the amplifier. Unfortunately, some of these modules, they do need to be amplified, some don't. In this case, it's preferable really, because this one has a volume pot, which makes it feel a little bit more authentic, like the original 1960s kind of dial, and I prefer that. This is a output USB, so this is for charging your phone, and it runs from this TP module. The only thing with this is, though, that the TP module seems to limit the amount of current that this can take, which is good in some ways, but it means that I can't really do other things like use soldering irons and stuff like that from that USB, because there's not enough amps coming out of it. It does really slowly charge things too. This is the meter, the battery meter, and that's the thing that shows the amps and the voltage. It's a handy thing to have on this, because sometimes if the battery is too low, or because, you know, if you want to charge your phone and the voltage is down, at least then you can sort of gauge whether it's worth doing. There are 4 switches, but I'm only using 2. The one turns on the whole unit, and the other one switches it to use the USB. So I can't use the radio and the USB at the same time, although I probably could if I wired it differently. It's a very simple thing to do, really. So there's not a hell of a lot of skill that goes into it. It's just really a recipe and a set of ingredients to cook something up. The actual radio, though, these things can be found everywhere. They're cheap. They're really cheap because nobody wants them. Nobody can use them, you see. They're about £20 British money on eBay, which is really reasonable. I mean, some work and some don't, but for this case, it doesn't matter whether it works or not, as long as it looks fairly tidy. I mean, I think realistically they're probably all going to need recovering with the leather, so be prepared for that if you're ever going to attempt a mod like this. I think the hardest part was actually sticking the leather onto this. Hopefully it'll actually stay there and, you know, last, but who knows? Only time will tell. The only thing I haven't finished, is this part here, this big square gap. It's actually for a reflex base port, so it would be coiled up and it would be 3D printed and it would fit in there. So when this is closed, you should see 2 ports there, and that's to let the air out so that we can get some bass going. I mean, it's quite bassy at the moment anyway, but when I get round to it, if I get round to it, we will add a bass port to it or 2. And I'm not really hopeful with that. Obviously, it's not going to be the most bassiest thing, and it's not going to make a massive difference, but It might be something I'll get round to one day. But as for now, this thing works fine, does what it says on the tin, and I'm happy with it. So if you ever make one of these, or think about it, or if you need any advice or any tips, or if I missed something out and you need to know more, then stick something in the comments and I'll get back to you straight away, usually. So, what do you think? Worth doing? If you liked the video, smash that like button, and consider subscribing if you want to find out any more videos and things that we get up to here. So, bye for now.